Hi everyone, it's Emily. Today I'm going to talk about choosing fabrics for fashion by covering topics like their classification, fibers, and other useful terminology when shopping. Fabric stores can be so overwhelming, so I'm going to take you on a trip to Mood Fabrics in downtown Los Angeles. And I'll actually have to pick up some fabrics for my spring collection, so I'll be going over a few things to help you choose fabric for your own clothing collections and hopefully give you a better understanding of fashion fabrics. I feel like I say this every video, but I could talk about this subject for hours, so I'm going to try and sum it up as best as I can. We're going to go over 1, categorizing fabrics and the keywords associated with that. Then we'll go over 2, common fabrics and go over their uses. And lastly, I'll talk about my personal tips for navigating a fabric store and what to be aware of. First things to consider when choosing a fabric is, do you need a woven fabric or a knit fabric? Woven fabrics are produced in a loom with the threads overlapping, so think of a basket weave at a much smaller scale. Woven fabrics don't typically have a lot of stretch and they have really good shape retention. They're typically easier to sew with as well, so if you're just starting out, that's a great place to start. Side note, I know there are exceptions to these qualities. I'm just waiting for the comments to come in, but overall these are general characteristics accepted about the fabric structure, depending on the weave. Other type of fabric is knits. Knits are made differently. Think of a big chunky sweater and then the loops that consist of it. This is what knit fabrics look like at a much smaller scale. They move beautifully and they're also stretchy. Between these fabrics largely depends on the end use as well as the construction of the garment. Another way to categorize fabrics is to look at what it's made of. There are 3 types of fibers that make up the threads that ultimately make up the fabric. There's natural, synthetic, and semi-synthetic. So natural fibers are harvested and include cotton, linen, silk, wool, cashmere, and hemp, just to name a few. There's synthetic fibers that are chemically made. There are so many of these, but the common ones include nylon, acrylic, polyester, and spandex. And lastly, we have semi-synthetic fibers that may have a cellulose base but are modified artificially in some way and include things like rayon or lyocell. Natural fibers are typically more expensive, but synthetic fibers have been created to mimic their properties. So choosing between these 2 types comes down to preference and ethics. Some people don't like how synthetic fibers are not as biodegradable, but there's also the other side that doesn't agree with sometimes how natural fibers are procured if it comes from an animal. Some people judge by the way it feels or the hand, and that determines which one they'll use. If you're choosing fabrics for warmer weather, I would recommend choosing cotton, rayon, chambray, knits, silks, or linen. Another thing to keep in mind is the weight. Weights can range from lightweight, where the fabric is almost transparent, to heavyweight, where it's much stiffer and it has a lot more thermal retention. A medium weight cotton would be perfect for something like a button-up or maybe a summer dress. So rayon is very soft and lightweight and breathable. It absorbs color very well, so you'll see it a lot in prints in various colors. It's very delicate and great for movement. We have chambray, which is smooth and lightweight but stiffer and durable, so it's good for dress shirts or shorts. We have knits, which are great for covering the curves of your body, and they come in a wide range of weights and fibers. There's silk, which is lightweight and delicate. It's breathable and tends to be slippery, so it can be challenging for beginners. It naturally has a very luxurious hand, so it suits dresses really well. Linen is the last fabric I'll mention that's good for warmer weather. I recommend this for summer. It's very breathable. Keep in mind though, it does wrinkle easily. It doesn't give as much of a crisp hand as much as like a cotton or a chambray. Although some of those fabrics I mentioned can transition to a fall-winter collection, cooler weather brings about other heavier fabrics like denim, fur, faux fur, leather, flannel, fleece. These fabrics are heavy and they're better insulators. Denim has almost no drape and it's very stiff. If you blend it with spandex, it can curve with your body like you see in skinny jeans. Something like flannel is very soft and insulating. It's good for comfy pajamas. Fleece is very similar and is great for hoodies or crew necks, and they come in medium to heavy weight range. It's usually made of polyester. Wool comes in a broad range of weights and is very insulating. It's durable. You can see it used in wool suits or even pea coats. Then we have faux fur. It's not quite as durable or insulating as real fur, but Both are very heavyweight and can be used as an accent piece on clothing as well. And faux fur is a little less expensive. We also have leather, which is typically heavyweight and hard to sew. Once you sew through it, you can't get rid of the holes, so that's one reason why it's very expensive. And I wouldn't recommend this for beginners, but you can always give it a try. It's very good for jackets or handbags. The last category I'll mention is formal. So here we have tulle, crinoline, chiffon, satin, lace, and velvet. Tulle and crinoline are forms of netting, so tulle can be used as an accent or for decorative uses. Crinoline is the stiffer of the two and provides more structure. Then we have chiffon, which is transparent and very flowy. Silk chiffon is very expensive but feels amazing. Polyester is going to be more affordable, but it just won't feel as soft. Then we have satin, which is a shiny, glossy fabric, and you can see this fabric used a lot on wedding dresses. Its structure in the weave actually involves floats. So when it's woven, it's not going in and out. The threads actually skip over other threads, and it gives it this glossy sheen. So it's woven a little bit differently than other weaves. Lace comes in silk or cotton, and it's woven to create a pattern, so it's very difficult to manufacture and thus more expensive. The last fabric I'll mention today is velvet. Velvet is formed by a pile of threads on top of the fabric. It's very soft and insulating. The most expensive type of velvet is going to be silk, and it has this beautiful shimmer to it. So these are categories that I refer to when planning a collection. It's a good place to start. They're very common fabrics. So let's move on to our next topic. Shopping tips. Now we're going to talk about how to buy fabric. I'm going to take you to Mood Fabrics in just a couple minutes. A couple of things to keep in mind. Fabric is bought by the yard, and it's important to at least have an idea of how much you need. And when you're looking for fabrics, it's important to note what the width is. So you may have to ask someone to come help you so you can pull down the fabric and measure that, because this is going to affect how much fabric you want to get. You can also always ask somebody that's helping you, how narrow are they willing to break down the yards. You may need a little more than a yard, but they are only willing to break the yards in half. So just ask. Another thing to look out for is shrinkage of a fabric. So take note of the fiber. Sometimes they're labeled incorrectly in the store, so that's where a lot of experience comes in, and this will happen over time, but you should take note of how it feels, what the fiber is. In school, we always burned the fabric. If it melted, it was synthetic. If it was ashy, it was most likely a natural fiber. So a fabric may shrink upon washing it, so you want to buy extra so you can wash it before sewing it and then make your garment. This happens to flannel, for example, which can lose 20% of its original size after washing. So note the direction of a print. So if there's a certain design on it and it matters that all the design is showing, you're not going to necessarily want to buy this fabric. So if you have a bunch of small pattern pieces with your actual clothing design and the print on the fabric is huge, you're going to end up chopping off the print, and it's not going to look how you want it to look. So this is something to also keep in mind. Lastly, always keep in mind the end use of the fabric. Is it going to be durable, warm, cool, drapey, stiff? Will the design you want to create work? In fast fashion, they often use fibers that aren't meant to last because it's cheaper to manufacture. So cheap fabrics tend to lose their shape, they age faster, and they lose their color. So how long do you want to wear these clothes, and how much does this matter to you is an important thing to keep in mind. So now we're going to head to Mood. I always make sure I have a little mood board put together with the vibe and aesthetic I'm going for, along with swatches that I possibly have already picked out, and most importantly, sketches of my designs. Getting to touch and interact with the fabric is extremely important in developing a collection. So if you're too nervous about how much to order, I would just get 2 yards. This is usually enough for a ready-to-wear garment. Some places will allow you to just get swatches too, so you can just take the swatch home, and you have time to consider what you need. And if you're just a beginner, always ask for help and don't start with super expensive fabrics. So if you make mistakes on the fabric, you won't stress out too much. it's really a learning process. So let's head to Mood. Hi guys, so I'm outside Mood Fabrics in downtown Los Angeles, and I'm gonna pick up some fabrics for my spring collection. Hopefully you get a better idea of what fabric shopping is like, and it's also very exciting to see the inside of Mood. I remember before I moved to the big city, I always wondered what it was like. Thank you, Project Runway. So yeah, let's go. I've also got my notebook ready with swatches and sketches and a list of what I need. Some fabrics I'll be getting from a wholesaler, but here we just have a little list of some things I put together. Is most of the bridal and beads, and just to give you guys some background, they actually take designer fabrics that are left over and resell them, so occasionally I'll see some brand names like Carolina Herrera, or smaller name designers as well, with labeled on the fabric. Most fabric stores will have the fabric organized by like woven or knit. These are most of the brocades and jacquards, so they're very fancy and a little more expensive. Like I said, sometimes you can take swatches, sometimes there'll be little notes not to swatch. You usually just need to ask somebody, or if there's a note. Some of these are just really expensive and have soap or certain patterns that would ruin the fabric if you swatched it. Another important thing to look out for is the fabric content. You won't always see the content listed on a tag. Sometimes it's a blend and sometimes it's not correct, so you kind of have to be the judge. So this one is polyester. Just wanted to note here to take out the bolt so you can get an idea of the width. So this is why I bring swatches. I match them to each style, and then it makes it way easier to find the fabric that you had pooled before when you're shopping. So all of these whites, and I can use the swatch to find the match. Comment below if you'd like me to do more videos and blogs on fabrics, and let me know if you have any questions or specific topics you'd like me to cover. Subscribe to my channel and click the bell to get notified when I upload new videos every Friday. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a great day.